Welcome to another episode of In Dialogue. And today, Dr. Fritz and I have Joy Stevens with us. Hi, Joy.
Hello, Sana. Hello, Dr. Fritz.
Hey, Joy.
Happy to be here.
Glad to be here. Joy, you and I have worked together on a lot of different projects over the last few years, and I'm excited to have you here. There's a little part of me that's like, oh my God, it feels like the first time I'm having Joy in the podcast, and I am, and I'm so excited to see where we take it.
Mhm.
And Joy, the podcast to me is a place where we set the tone for being in dialogue. We give an example of what it's like to be with one another, listen to one another, and see where
Mhm.
it takes us. So let's just jump into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself for our audience who are now meeting you for the first time.
Wow. Okay, so how far back? So I was born in Houston, Texas.
That's
Then
good.
year one, no, I'm kidding. But yeah, I'm from Houston, Texas originally. I live in Atlanta, Georgia now. Um, Spelman College, Georgia Institute of Technology, graduate of both, have chemistry and chemical engineering degrees. So I was huge nerd, did all the nerd things. I'm into video games, I'm into anime, I'm into cons like Comic Con, Dragon Con. So I have this nerd life, right? But I also am into people. And so I started out my corporate career as an engineer doing boring engineering things. I wouldn't stop talking, so they put me in sales. And from there, I moved. It's a long story that we'll probably get into over the course of this, but I went from being a sales trainer to a corporate culture consultant because I saw what was missing in so many places. And so now I'm the chief consultant for New Heights Academic and Leadership Consulting. And I like to tell people in a nutshell, I like to help one human see the humanity in another human. That's
Oh,
me.
Wow.
I like that. And I like it especially because that's kind of what we're hoping to talk about today.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Oh, can you kind of unpack that as you when
Mhm.
you think about one human and humanity, can you can you tell me what have been some of the really interesting or heartfelt things that have come out of that for you?
Yes. So I would say the way I developed that as a tagline is I kept seeing people disparage others. And the moment you label them, no matter what the label was, whether it was the boomers or the millennials or this racial demographic, this ethnic demographic, this people from New York, people from Texas, people from Florida, Florida man. The minute they had a label, they were a thing and not a human. The minute you could put them in a box, you could close that box, dump it in the ocean if you wanted to, because they weren't real to you. And so I try to help people see this other person, every one of us, regardless of where we are in the world, or who we are, how we love, etc. We want to be loved. We want someone to care about us. We want to take care of the people around us that we care about. We want to do something with our lives to some extent, some sort of purpose. And we want to feel safe and heard. And that's basic to like all humans. And if you could recognize that the person you're labeling has those same desires as you can see their humanity. And so that's where I'm going with that.
Yeah,
You
amazing.
mentioned that your background in engineering, science, nerdy stuff.
Mhm.
Um, Hate the stereotype at the moment, but a lot of times some of those fields are not known for their interest in people, not the way you have it.
Mm. So I believe there's no way to say this without sounding arrogant. I'm really smart. And so I believe that there was an influence of my parents because I'm a Black female child of the 70s, born in 1974. And by the time I was ready to, get up and go away to college, you had three choices: a lawyer, doctor, or engineer. Pick one and go get a good job. Like a lot of kids in the 70s and 80s, that's what our parents told us: go get a good job. There was no jobs for, I honestly wanted to be an actress. My parents vetoed that. They were not in support of it. You're not going to be able to get a job. You're going to be waiting tables in California. So I picked engineering because I was good at math. And I picked chemical engineering because I had kind of a crush on my high school chemistry teacher. He was the smartest person I ever saw. I now know the word for that is like sapiosexual. Like, not that I did anything inappropriate with my high school chemistry teacher, but his intelligence, he got a perfect score on the MCAT, because he took it just cause see if he could. Just why not? I'm gonna go take the MCAT. And he let us know the following when he got the results that he made a perfect score. And he's like, it's not hard. What? So he was my role model, if you will.
Oh. Your role model had a relational component to it.
Yeah, true. He actually was the one that taught me about compound interest and why you should never pay a car note and some other things that they don't really teach in school. And so I had a really good high school matriculation because we had a lot of teachers who went beyond, teaching to well, they weren't even teaching to the test in the 90s. You actually learn stuff. So Mr. Johnson was his name. I never knew his first name, but he was really cool. Mr. Johnson, if you're still out there, you did a really good job.
He did such a good job because in the time I've known you, the way that you connect when you are sometimes really conveying super technical conceptual things, you often tell a story. You're doing it right now. And the story is not just any story, it's a story that evokes connection, it evokes emotion. It makes the listener not only hear intellectually what you're talking about, but feel what you're conveying. And Sanai and I have talked about how in relationships, our current culture doesn't give us a lot of time to do that. It doesn't actually put a primary focus on doing that. It's all about technical and intellectual knowledge and conveying it. And in the mix of doing that, we often lose some of the essence of connection and relationship to one another.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've thought about that as well. Like, why are we so hyper focused on technological or intellectual pursuit over emotional exploration? You know, and I'm going to I'm going to try and stop myself from going down like the down with capitalism hole. But I do think a lot of it is based on intellectual pursuits are easier to measure, especially if you're trying to monetize them.
Yeah.
And so, in a capitalist society where everything is about the dollar, I know how much this PhD is going to earn for me. I know how much this master's degree is going to earn for me. I know how much I can exploit these folks that maybe have a high school diploma or GED and they can earn for me. That's their worth. But we forget about the emotional context of it, which is why, in my opinion, you have so many emotionally unintelligent people at high levels because they were intellectually superior. Now, intellectual superiority is also a function of privilege. You had the money to go to college? Did your parents have the money to give you tutors? Did they go to college and thereby influence your early development? All of this feeds on itself. So you end up with intellectually um, advantaged people who think that they are better than everyone else. And therefore they want to maintain that level of distance. And so we start doing strange things when it comes to how we treat each other, because there is ultimately this desire to be liked. Um, which reminds me of, who was it? Was it Machiavelli or Nietzsche? It was some philosopher that said, I'd rather, if I can't be loved, then I will be respected. If I can't be respected, then I will be feared. Something along those lines. And people are just dropping straight to fear. Fear
Mhm.
me. I'm
Yeah.
stronger than you. You know, I know more than you. But if I tell you that I need you to get in touch with your emotions, one, you haven't learned how to do it. And two, it knocks you off that pedestal of being the smartest in the room because you don't even know how to handle your own emotions. And now you're down here with the rest of us. Sometimes lower in the scale because you haven't had to do this. And now you're 50 years old and you don't know how to talk to your kids or something like that. You know what I mean?
In
Yeah.
some instances, those wisdoms were intentionally removed from how we are trained.
Yes. Yeah.
And and now, sometimes we're having to go where, well, we not just sometimes, it's we're often going back into organizations and teaching people about empathy, teaching them about emotional intelligence, teaching them about dropping down into their body and noticing what's coming up. But these were things that the ancients knew.
Absolutely. And it wasn't, so I hear a lot of people say in corporate spaces that these are soft skills and that women are naturally better at them. I don't agree with that. I don't think that at all. I think women have been allowed to explore emotions at an earlier age without fear of repercussion. Sometimes they weaponize it, not gonna act like they don't. But somewhere along the way in the last, let's call it 500 years, um, the predominance of misogyny has separated humans along gender lines. You're a girl, don't you know? You fight like a girl, man up. All these things we have in our current lexicon that say men are supposed to be strong and stout and no emotions, and we make logical decisions, and women are so emotional, and all these things that are taken as negatives, pejoratives, or weakness. When in actuality, you need to have a balance. You know, I see it in like teenagers. They would rather wrestle each other than say, I enjoy having you as a friend. They don't know how to say those things. Women, on the other hand, we have our girlfriends, we talk, we cry, we uh, vent, all these things well through our 80s, right? We never lose our female friends that can support us emotionally. And I don't see that among men. All I see is violence and anger. They can explore violence and anger because those are seen as manly traits. I can punch through a wall, I can beat you up. You know, I'm angry about something. If I'm angry, almost like a baby, I'm just gonna scream till I get what I want. Right. And it's okay for me to do that. But then they'll say that women are emotional. Women have a wider vocabulary of emotions, but men just throw anger around, and that's why they have mantrums, in my opinion.
Yeah. You know, Joy, and it's so nice to hear you talk about all of this and you know, tell these stories. And I don't want to stop you and ask more questions because it's so great to listen to you. I'm curious to know, as you're saying all this, what do you feel today is the antidote to being in these boxes?
Hmm. I would say it's two very contrived things, but I'm serious about them. One, listen to Black women. Two, you got to go outside. Now, if you go outside and listen to Black women, your life will be better. The going outside piece is easy because people are outside. If you want to make connections to people, doing it online, doing it through an app or through, you know, some dating thing or whatever, is not the same as meeting someone at the library, as long as the library is still open, or meeting someone at the park, or meeting someone through a friend, dancing with somebody at a concert, as long as it's not Coldplay. You know, just being being in the moment. Because even at concerts or venues and outings that I've gone to, people are not in the moment. They are out there watching a live concert through their phone to
Yeah.
make sure they can get a clip so they can post it and let everybody know they were at the concert. And I'm like, you know, put your phone down and be with the people around
Yeah. So you're saying go outside, but that means be present, be in the
you.
moment with
Yes.
other people,
Yes.
like a full sensory experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. And it also forces is a strong word. It encourages you to develop those interpersonal skills, because if you are talking to someone, you can't wait 30 minutes and pick the right words and look something up and then get back to them with whatever retort or response. You have to be able to talk to them in the moment, which means you have to say, oh, I don't know if you don't know, or wow, that's wild if you don't have an answer. But how can you stay in that moment listening and enjoying just being with them versus the sterilization that we have from text messages and emails and comment sections, you know?
I hear you talking, Joy, about being able to take risk and be
Mhm.
vulnerable. And
Mhm.
when you were saying earlier about how um, people are afraid to drop into their emotions, I think
Mhm.
about how if people were to drop into their emotions or to feel things, that's such a great equalizer because when you start to feel things, you notice, well, we all feel things.
Right.
And then if we're not in our intellectual or in our accolades or in our degrees or in our jobs, and we're in our feelings and our sensations, then we are all equal to each other.
Hmm. And that brings me to the other part that I said, like, listen to Black women. This is not about politics. This is about, at least in the country that I live in, the United States, all things being considered, highly melanated women tend to be the lowest rung of um, society when it comes to who somebody else can look down on. You know, no matter where you are in the society, if you see a Black woman in that same realm, whether it's the LGBTQ community, they will still look down on darker skinned people. They will look down on femme presenting people. That's a Black woman. You see what I mean?
Mm.
In the Black community, women are still as oppressed as any woman might be oppressed in a gender differential. You know, and then writ large across the whole of the United States, when you look at the way people are valued and paid. Now, this is not to say that there are not similar issues, especially when it comes to pay with the Latina community. They make less than Black women, and Black women make less than white women. But I'm saying when it comes to experiencing loneliness and developing resilience, self-reliance, determination, being able to bounce back, being able to make a way out of no way, being able to make $1 out of 15 cents. Black women have had to do that to survive for the entirety of their time on this land of the United States. And so if you want to know how to maintain your connection to the community, listen to Black women. I'm not saying let them tell you what to do. I'm saying listen to their stories, listen to what they've been through, listen to another perspective that maybe you haven't understood, and then understand your place in the world and how we all connect. Because if you listen to Black women, they will tell you what's missing. You may not want to hear it. There's a whole lot of smoke and tough love from Black women because we kind of sick of it. We kind of trying to we're a little bit tired of trying to tell people the same thing we've been trying to tell them since like 1620, right? So there may be a little bit of acid along with
Mhm.
that medicine, but if you listen to what they're trying to tell you, it'll make your life better.
Yeah, yeah, that's really powerful. So listen to the things that you may not want to hear,
Right.
and you will be shown what is missing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The growth is always in the pain, right? If it was easy, if it was something that you hear all the time, well, you'd be doing it. You know, if it was something that was could be done just like that, you've done it years ago. But you resist, you deny, you go through all the stages of grief, right? Denial, anger, bargaining, sadness, and you never accept. And it's that inability to accept that you need to grow, that you need to learn, that you don't know everything, that you could be better in this way. That inability to accept that, especially from the vessel that is coming in, which is a highly melanated female. If you can't accept that, you're missing out and you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
And if you don't have any Black women friends, well, that's a whole nother story. Get you some.
I'm thinking, Joy, about this, and you know of some of my experience in recent years where I've been in spaces where I was surrounded by nothing but highly melanated Black women, and I'm like, holy cow, because a
Mhm.
lot of my life experience, professional and educational, was that I wasn't surrounded. And when I've been in those spaces, I've had glimpses of the wisdom and the knowledge. You know, there's something that unfortunately comes from being in a low rung in the world is that a lot of the lessons you just talked about, um, people have had to really, really learn the hard way from the inside out from a non-privileged position.
Mhm.
And the dominant culture often is so privileged that they not only have no clue of those lessons, if those lessons or if anybody attempts to try and spell those lessons out to them, they're highly resistant and highly dismissive of it. Um, and we all have like room to grow and evolution to we're all on our journeys. And part of what happens in these conversations is that I learn something. And what happens is I hope that those who are listening to it also learn something. If not, learn something, ask an additional question, and tune in and connect to us because there is this is not an endpoint. This is a journey that we're all on. Along the question or the idea of a journey, I was wondering, if you were to look back of yourself, maybe a 15-year-old, 15 years ago not a
Yeah.
15-year-old, I'm not making you go that far back,
Okay.
and then maybe a 5-year ago which a lot happened in the last 5 years, and then a 5 years from now and a 10 years from now. Give me a little progression of the journey that you're on from where you've been to where you're going, because I want to follow you.
Okay. Okay. So 15 years ago, I would have been 36-ish.
I wasn't trying to get you tell your age now.
Oh, I don't mind telling you my age. I'm 51. 51 and proud, right? I look good for 51. Um, letting my hair look, letting the gray grow and everything.
All
But
right.
so in my mid 30s, I was still living the life my parents wanted me to live, living the life that society said, this is for you. You're supposed to get married and have children and work a job for your whole life and do what you went to college and got a degree to do. And the idea of being happy wasn't even discussed. It was a survival thing. And I think about this a lot when I like relate to like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So many people say they want to be happy, but what they really mean is they want to be free from struggle. And they don't recognize that free from struggle should be the basics. That's the lowest rung of Maslow's hierarchy of needs: food, shelter, water, freedom from harm. So they're out here saying, you see this meme all the time. They say money can't buy happiness, but give me a bunch of money and I'll let you know. Money doesn't make you happy. Money can get you out of survival mode. And I believe that my parents, especially since I know how I grew up, we had, government cheese and spam and food stamp hustles and so on and so forth. I think they wanted to make sure that I survived. And so the things that they were telling me, especially from my mother's point of view: get you a husband. Husband helps with survival. 2 incomes. Get you a good job and don't and keep your head down and do your job and so on and so forth. When I was 35, I was still doing that.
Mm.
And then my mother passed away in 2006. And with her, the desire to do those things faded. I never wanted that. I never wanted a boring job that I didn't like, doing something that made money, but big deal. And I started thinking, especially around the lines of getting married and having kids, I don't do this. She wasn't even going to babysit for me, by the way. She told me that once upon a time, that if I'd had kids, she wasn't keeping them. So what am I doing? What am I having children for? I don't even want this. And I think a lot of women woke up like that one day and realized this doesn't serve me. So now we fast forward to 5 years ago, but I'm going to make it 2018 because that's when I left corporate America and I struck out on my own. You're talking about a leap of faith. Now, granted, because I didn't have kids and because I wasn't married, I could just up and leave and do whatever I wanted to do. So I left Houston again and came back to Atlanta again to open my business with a woman, Jackie, who's a silent partner now. And no clients, no references, no stability whatsoever. Just a pretty hefty severance package that I had taken from this voluntary thing they did in my old company that I knew I could live off of for a year. So we'll say in 2018 was me having faith in myself, because I put faith in God all the time. But at the same time, do you think you can do this, Joy? Are you sure? What are you willing to bet on it? Are you willing to bet your livelihood? Are you willing to bet your mortgage? Your ability to feed yourself? And so, yes, I am. I know what I'm capable of, and it's proven out since then. Now, were there nights that I was eating beans and rice? Absolutely. Matter of fact, one time I did a workshop for a Girl Scouts troop, and they couldn't pay me, but they had sandwiches. I took all them sandwiches when I left, and I ate sandwiches for like 3 days. So I did work for food one time. And so things have gotten better since I started in 2018, and now I've reached a point where I can pick and choose which clients I want to work with, kind of work I want to do. I love what I do. I'm in a hotel in North Carolina right now because I'm doing a 3-day event for the next 3 days after this. So you said 5 years from now, or a little bit longer, I will still be doing this, hopefully for even more money. But also, I really would like to, I want to get into media. That bug, that itch to be an actress is still in me. I don't think I want to be an actual actress, but I would love to be a talk show host or a correspondent, like on the Daily Show or something like that. That would be really cool. And I
I
think
would watch that.
years from now, I will have reached the age where you can't tell me nothing. I do what I want.
You know, your story, Joy, as you describe it, is about you becoming more and more free.
Yes. Freedom. Freedom is my value. You know, you do these little value studies and they give you a whole bunch of words on a page and they tell you pick 5 words and then pick three and then drop it down to one. And what's the one thing that you value more than anything else? Freedom was the thing that I valued more than anything else. And I think I've let that guide my decisions since I figured that out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a wonderful encapsulation of where you're going. You know that you want to get it more and more free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like that. So far I'm hearing find truth tellers, be more present.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
And figure out what your values really are. Because I think what I wish for more people is that they figure out who they are and what they want before they turn 40, before they turn 30. I do see more desire for self-determination in some of the folks that are like, say, 30 and under. Um, and I want them to figure that out faster. I don't think that everyone being a corporate cog is the future. I think that's a very dystopian future, to be honest. I want us to get back to art and humanities and um, emotions and color, and not just melanin and color in people, like color in the world. Let's get away from the business black and white suit and get back into some periwinkle and paisley and stripes and just freedom of expression is what I want from everybody, which usually tends to come through art. And we've sliced that out of public education so much that that's another way people are losing that connection. There's a reason they called it the humanities, right? And so we're losing that.
There are some natural wisdoms, I'm gonna even call them technologies that are in that we're in and are in the reality of the human condition, maybe even the animal condition. Creativity is one of them. I often say to people, always be creating, ABC.
Mm-hmm.
Always figure out a way to be innovating, and even your choice of what you're drinking, whether it's water or something else, could be a creative decision in the moment. Um, and in what you're talking about are a lot of wisdoms that I think people we can't talk enough about it because it's so much about the systems, the
Mm-hmm.
systemic environments that do kind of dumb us down, that take us away from the freedom, from the creativity. So now I've talked about it like in some one conversation, I could feel like I'm enlightened and I've got it. And then I like shift and I'm looking at a system or a bureaucracy and I start saying something as I'm saying it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm still colonized.
Yes. That is a whole nother conversation, my friend. Just the shrapnel that still exists in our bodies from colonization.
Ooh,
Oh, I
that's
like
powerful.
that. Yeah.
We
We
bring it
could,
with us. Mhm.
we could in one sentence be enlightened and on the right path, and then the phone rings and we are like going down the wrong path.
Mm-hmm.
You said earlier about connection, and I think this is what this is about for me, which is connecting to colleagues and friends and other people from the tribe, people who carry the wisdoms from the ancestors, who also carry the wisdom from this lived experience. So, you know, talking to, melanated women and having a moment of them going, "Come over here, dude," and helping me go down, the path that I said I wanted to go down, but the phone rang and I started going down the other way.
And they
Um,
snatched you up.
and so somewhere in here is a question, but I think I'm also advocating for some of what all of what you're talking about, which is that connection and that creativity and the connection to color and to art and all of that. We need it because in a moment's notice, 5 minutes from now, we could be someplace else. And the buttons that were wired into us from the very beginning could get pressed. And all of a sudden, we're like going down a colonized path.
Mhm. And we perpetuate it because, again, part of the things that we've learned are post-colonial survival tactics. Like, so fun fact, the way people say down south, they like to say yes, ma'am, and yes, sir to everyone. That's a Jim Crow slavery holdover,
Hmm.
because Black people could very well be killed in the street if they did not show the proper respect to a white person, regardless of age and rank and everything. And so young Black kids grew up learning yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, because it saved your life in the streets. I'm talking like 1890s, 1920s, so on and so forth. But culture bleeds over. And so it became just a thing in the South for everyone to say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, respectfully, especially among poor whites who tended to be at that same strata as all Black people. And now we say it's just a Southern affectation. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, because I'm from the South. But why? Why do you say that way? Even getting out of somebody's way on the sidewalk has, even loitering as a crime has racial roots. But again, I'm going down a rabbit hole. I'm gonna stop myself.
Yeah, but those I was just telling the story the other day that the only person to ever point a gun at my head, a real live loaded gun, was a New York City police officer because I was loitering too long in the wrong neighborhood.
Mhm.
And so I don't feel comfortable loitering. I don't feel comfortable not moving aside on the sidewalk. There's a whole bunch of things that there's an internal part of me that still gets triggered if some of those implicit old time rules are being broken.
Absolutely. Because it's been ingrained in us from sometimes before we were born that this is how you stay alive. It's not like this is how you please somebody or this is how you get a good tip. This is how you stay alive. And that does imprint on you generation after generation. You know?
Yeah, Joy, you've been talking about these survival implicit knowings, and also contrasting that with your journey of becoming more and more free. And
Hmm.
I'm curious to know what personal things, what things are you doing actively as you sort of broker your own freedom and take your own path and feel, I mean, you're talking about where you are and your income and you're feeling really good about it and you're, planning to get more and more free and feeling great being
Hmm.
exactly as you are. And so I'm wondering what are your practices for those who are listening and are like, I want to be more like Joy.
First of all, be true to yourself. If you have not taken time to figure out who you really are and what you really want, you're going to be living somebody else's dream. There's no way around it because somebody will be able to tell you what you should want. And I think a whole lot of people are living in that idea of, well, society says the average age of this is that, and I'm that average age, so I have to do that thing. Or society says this is good for whatever nuclear family, whatever they might be telling you. So I have to do that thing. You don't have to. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. Now, you may choose to do some things. I choose to work because I like shoes and I like food and I like my house. So I work to pay for those things. Beyond that, everything else I make past that is just vacation money. It's just extra. Now, when I say you need to know yourself, I did have a seminal moment in 2016. There was a lot going on in the country then, similar to what's going on now. And I had a mentee B, as they say, it was like a little mental breakdown. Um, and that was when I decided, when I looked around at the people I was working with, and I said, I'm not going to retire from this place. I had planned to be with my company forever because that's just what you did. And I realized I don't want to be here forever. And it was the mental breakdown that helped me realize I don't want to be here at all, not even right now. But it was stages. I didn't just break free all of a sudden. My first thought was, I need a job in a different place. And so I decided to touch up my LinkedIn profile, get my resume together. Now I do resumes. I'm a great wordsmith, so I knew I had that on lock. But I looked at my profile picture on LinkedIn, and it was me with just a cute little twist out. Like this is a fro right now, but a cute little twist out, sitting on my couch, nice picture, great smile. And I thought, I should probably take another picture where I straighten my hair so I can be more accessible to more people. And I had a visceral reaction to that. My whole body was like, we're not doing that. Why would you straighten your hair? Why would you present a lie on LinkedIn? Because that's not how you wear your hair every day. And if anybody wants you because your hair is straight, they don't want you.
How did you learn to listen to that voice?
I have to say, I think it was because
Mm.
it's going to sound weird to say this, but I think it's because both my parents were gone. And so that pressure, that parental pressure of do this, do that, we just want to see you settled, we just want to see you do this, that was gone. And so I had no anxiety angel on my shoulder worrying about what's going to happen in my future. I just had just me. And when I looked at, and I thought about it at the end of the day, I don't want to do this. And there was nobody to tell me that I was selfish or that I should feel guilty or that I was asking too much to feel those things. I remember my father told me when I was in high school, but I always had a problem with authority. It was always there. And at one time I challenged his authority about something because I didn't think it was fair. And he said, you have an overdeveloped sense of fairness. And now I do corporate culture where I teach people to be fair to each other for a living. I absolutely love what I do. And so that's another thing I would encourage people to do is find out what you love. What would you do for free? What do you catch yourself doing when nobody's looking, or to help a friend out, or just randomly, like, I love doing this. That's the thing you're supposed to be doing. And if you do it with all the passion that you have for it, the money will come.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to believe, especially when you're hungry, that that's going to happen, but the money will come. Now, it may not be six bedroom house money, but if it's, split a 1 bedroom apartment with my friend money, and you're happy, you're genuinely excited to get up and do this thing every day, and your basic necessities are covered, that's a better existence than having, hundreds of thousands of dollars and a short lifespan because you're so stressed out that you have a stroke at 50, because it's happening. It's happening left and right.
It's like I think what you're saying, it's so deeply radical in the sense that you have made it a practice to listen deeply to your own intuition,
Mhm.
that you're not in this survival mode. You're actually so beyond, you're listening deeply inside.
Yeah,
You're not in scarcity.
that part.
Yeah.
But you have to understand what scarce looks like to you. Like some people would think, like if they knew how much I lived off of on a monthly basis, they'd be like, "Girl, how? Is that enough? I'm using Affordable Health Care Act for my insurance." And they're like, "As you get older, you're going to need more money, or not." I'm not tied to this quest, never-ending quest for another 3% cost of living increase at the end of every corporate year. I know what it costs to live where I live. Some of this is privilege because I did have a corporate job for a long time, so I have a nest egg and all of that. But now that I've got it, if that's the route people want to take, okay, so work a good job until you turn 40 and then free yourself and do what you want to do. So I think financial literacy is a pathway to freedom. Another seminal moment, two, actually. So Bali and Ghana, because if I start talking, I'm gonna forget what the other one was. Bali first. I took a trip to Bali, and we had a guide who was, of course, native, and we stopped by his family's house for something. I don't remember what it was, but as we're waiting for him to go in and come back out, we see the family. It's like his grandmother is sitting on the front porch. There's like a goat and a chicken on the side. There's a little fence in the back with vines. It clearly is a garden. And the house is like got the tiled roof and cobblestone. And it's nice, but it's not like kept up really well. You can tell it's a really old house. And I remember thinking, wow, that's a really old house. And then it dawned on me, this is a family home. This is a generational house. His grandmother's sitting right there, and she's probably not the first one to live in it, which means they don't have a house note. They don't have to pay for anything. They own that land, and they're clearly living off of it because they've got their own garden. They're probably getting eggs from that chicken and goat's milk from that goat. They don't have to pay for shelter or food. And if you don't have to pay, think about how much of your check goes to mortgage and groceries, and how different you could live if you had no mortgage and you made your own food, right? So it's a different way of living. They had freed themselves from what we would call the grind, right? Then
Yeah.
my second revelation was this past year. Well, this past February, I went to Ghana, and we went to the open air market. It's a huge area, and there's all of these little shanties and lean-tos. They got the corrugated roof, or somebody had taken a converted shipping container and turned it into like a little store, and they're all just kind of piled on top of each other. It looks a mess. It looks very disorganized and chaotic. And I grew up in, the Great American Mall era. You're supposed to have a nice clean store with almost nothing in it, and then another nice clean store, and so on and so forth. And I saw all of these businesses piled on top of each other. And again, my American mind said, this is chaotic, inefficient, not aesthetically pleasing, etc. But another corner of my mind said, what you are looking at is over 200 independent business owners that are all making it work right here, and they are not beholden to anybody else. They are all entrepreneurs. Can you say that about anybody in the mall? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a different way of thinking, you know?
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Your eyes have been looking at the world in this decolonized lens.
It's another way to get traveling will
Yeah.
definitely help you decolonize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Joy, this has been amazing. I mean, we could talk all day.
Look, I got nothing but time.
I
So
hope
now
that
you've had the experience of getting entranced by Joy, because when she starts to go, I'm right now still looking at the storage container and comparing it to the mall. I've traveled 1,000 miles just now.
yeah, yeah. This is amazing, Joy. Thank you so much for sharing all this like deep, incredible wisdom. And I hope that you will come back and chat with us again on
Ask me
the
anytime. I
podcast.
would love to.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Joy. Now
Thank you.
let's talk about the hot professor again.
Oh yeah, Mr. Johnson.
Or what I would call the relational connection and what motivates.